Another week, another Ray Donovan episode. And this week we have Little Big Prim's Big Green Horseshoe. Almost said right there. But seriously, that's the whole name of the bloomin' episode here. Can't believe it's called that. Well, that's what the whole entitled details. It's about that horseshoe right there. So, let's not waste the fat and let's dive into the episode. Because I have the notes and let us talk about it. So first of all, the ICE finds a whole bunch of civilians trapped inside what looks like a vehicle, or it looks like one of those like big giant crates that you load onto the trucks or whatever. I forget their names because I'm just having a hard time trying to remember those right now. So they find that, and it's run by the the FBI chick, which I forgot the name of. I'm sure I've written down the name somewhere in here. As, of course, time passes by and we see that Mick is receiving a package back in his home in Las Vegas. But what is that package? Well, it doesn't show much, as we cut back to a scene where apparently Abs has pulled into the driveway, where a car has apparently pulled into the driveway, and somebody is jerking off in there, but we don't know who. All we can safely assume is that, for all we know, that could be that could be Abs or something along those lines, but then again, we don't know. And if you're wondering about that package that Mick received in the mail, it turns out that Mick received those night vision goggles for the heist that he was going to pull off in that casino. And he plans to pull the heist somewhere around when they're about to break the thing. So, it's going to be interesting to see where this is going to go after this, but pretty much it's Ray Donovan. Sometimes a lot of Mick's plans don't go over so very well. So it turns out the person in the car was in fact Bridget, as Bridget gets told and gets harped upon for basically screwing a guy, and apparently there's somebody who actually broke into the house late into the night, and Ray and the gang have to stay into the night. Why? Well, because Bridget shot the crook. So what happens then is they decide to set up a party for Bridget because this happens to be, by coincidence, another birthday centered around episode, but really not too much, just like Walk This Way, which is, is one of my favorite Ray Donovan episodes, as we have yet another situation where our crew here, the Donovan family, have to be locked up into individual hotel rooms in order to be protected from the Russian what's-its, in order to protect them from getting attacked or whatever. Just for a safe extra measure, Anywho, Mick hires a member that could break into the casino and turn off the power for a little while. However, this member seems to be a little joidy, and Mick gets a little anxious about whether or not it was right to hire the guy or not. But seeing how he has no other choice, he decides to actually let him on the crew anyways. So, with that time going on, Abs just feels so uncomfortable with actually shooting the crook and all. Especially since this seems to be almost like a regular thing now and then, but this is the first time that they tried to break into the Donovan house. That actually makes you wonder, will this kind of thing ever happen again? Who knows? So, like I said, they wind up getting their own individual hotels as Ray finds out the crook that broke in is affiliated with the Russians. And he's affiliated with someone, but he doesn't know who, and has to hire his crack team of private investigators to figure out who. And with that in mind, he sees that everybody's there, but unfortunately Terry refuses to come as he places the boxing gym under heavy security and, like, basically heavily arms the place, like, guarding the place with his life because it's, like, his only place. Like, he's almost chained to the place because in Season 2 he couldn't even sell the gym. Despite the fact that he wanted to move to, like, Scotland or whatever the place was. Maybe it was Ireland, I forget. But then, in time, Daryl tries to talk Terry into, moving over. But, again, much like how Daryl got nearly told to go away from the situation, he actually gets convinced to go and protect the gym. Which Ray calls them a bunch of fucking idiots for doing that. Literally, while they're just sitting around and chilling, talking about family and quoting Blazing Saddles, because why not? Abs refuses to tell Bridget about the situation until later on, where we see the FBI agent, or I should say the police agent, Muncie, is shot down and killed by the Russians. But we don't know who or what shot her, so well, we can only assume that it's either a blunt instrument or maybe boom. But it wouldn't be like boom. It would have to be like a blunt instrument. But again, I'm not like an expert in like autopsies or whatever. And with that in mind, Ray finds out the person responsible for all of this as Ray talks to the person to try to bribe this person to call off this whole entire situation, which is not going to be very easy for the Ray or the person who hired this whole thing to go down. But they talked for a little while, and they somehow managed to make it work. Anywho, the heist that Mickey is planning on doing actually does begin on the way. And it turns out that that big horseshoe that we've been seeing for the past 2 episodes is actually going to be donated to... is actually going to be worked for something. It's going to be donated to creating a museum for an Indian tribe. And good to them. It's something, but you're in Ray Donovan, so it's not going to be that easy. Anywho, they try to break the, they tried to steal the money, and unfortunately, it doesn't go over so very well. And of course, while Ray has been gathering up the money, it turns out that Ray is working on... It turns out that Abs has run away from... It turns out that Abs has ran away from the hotel and has been nowhere to be seen. So, what is up to our cast members, or at least what is up to Lee Striver's character? He tracks the phone to a grocery store and finds her sitting around, where she talks about the situation at hand and how Bridget's upset about everything, and how she finally tells Ray about her breast cancer and how she refuses to go to the doctor about it. And of course, later on, we see that Therese, my mistake, is having a baby as the rest of the cast celebrates Bridget's birthday. And Mickey, while on his stroll away from the failed heist, sees the newborn Donovan and celebrates it by holding his phone up to the stars. And that's where it all ends. And I must say that Little Big Prim's Big Green Horseshoe, I'm gonna have to get used to saying that. Tight tensions, tight suspension of many things, but it ain't no Walk This Way. It tried to be, but it can't match Walk This Way. But it was close. It could be number 2 in the Ray Donovan list. If it tried. I'll just have to watch the rest of the season to find out, but in the opinion of my saying, this episode is quite practically the most insane of the bunch, seeing how this is the first of many that they ever had, like almost a GTA-like break-in, where we had a Russian break into the Donovan house and try to nearly kill Ray or any of the other members of Ray's family. This is very serious, and next week's episode, he better step it up a notch, because I'm curious to see what happens next. If you've seen the episode, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments. And if you're enjoying Ray Donovan so far, or at least seen the past episodes, then congrats! You found probably the best show there is. And I hope to see you guys next week for the next all-new Ray Donovan. Surely I am, and 3 weeks until what is desperately supposed to be MOP Season 6 Part 2 is supposed to come back. So it'll be interesting trying to juggle this and My Little Pony together, but I'll see if I can make it work. With the Conv logs, of course. But with that in mind, see you guys next week for the all-new episode. Later.